Welcome back, guys. Thanks for coming. I wanted to share something with you today. I'll try to make it a little quicker. Little change I've noticed in me that has probably occurred a little while ago, but finally starting to become aware of it. So, to sort of preface this, there's something I read quite a while back, and if I had thought ahead, I would have picked it out. So I could read it to you guys, but it's essentially this idea that Carl Jung had where he talks about that a great deal of experience, or perhaps the majority of our experience, comes when we reflect upon it. So there's the initial event, but for us to really get in touch with what happened there and there's like your initial feelings about it and stories that we tell to make sense of what we see happening around us. But I think most people can relate to the idea that as you look back on your thoughts in that time or your experience, sometimes you change and you realize that the way that you were thinking wasn't really accurate or no longer rings true with you. Or perhaps you think back to a situation that at the time seemed so important, so meaningful, and then you look back and you're like, oh, that was sort of just one of many trivial experiences and that I'm going to go through in life. And you can approach that experience with a different attitude, different mentality. So that's part of why I always say it's so important to self-reflect. Is it's the only way, one of the only ways you can witness some change in yourself. So some change I've noticed is at work. We here, just give me 1 second, guys. Sorry. At work, we do a thing each day. I work at a restaurant where almost every day when we arrive, they do something called staff alignment, and they take everyone for a quick meeting before you start work, just so you know any special things that need to be known. So let's say my restaurant, they're out of salmon for the day. They'll just tell us that beforehand. So it's usually kind of a waste of time, but some of the time they have some little important things to tell us. But I always make a point to be there on time and just be ready to start the day. When I was a kid, my mom would always be running late to things. So oftentimes we were late to school. When I was on the wrestling team in high school, we often were driving behind the bus on like the way to a tournament, and they'd have to pull over and pick me up because I had missed the initial departure from the school. It was always something, but so I always really hated being late. And now I'm always one of the first people there. I get my coffee, or I get a chance to just chat with my coworkers briefly. But my other coworkers who are arriving for that staff alignment, they oftentimes, some of them not so much, but a lot of them were arriving either a few minutes late or just by the skin of their teeth, but they were super stressed out or flustered or anxious or something. And some of them would actually arrive, still do sometimes, without their uniform on. So they'd leave the house and arrive to work, and I guess they just have their clothes in their car or something. They'd have to go into the into the restroom and change, and it was just sort of like a hectic, chaotic way to start the day from my experience. So I would look at them, and I mostly work with women, and a lot of them are moms, so I could understand running short on time and stuff, but I was just noticing like the emotional state that we were all in. There was a a big difference I felt between like the place where I was and the place where they were. And I would get this feeling of like, basically, thank God I'm not like that, you know, sort of this thought of like, or this idea of like, I was using their shortcomings and flaws, or, you know, poor time management or whatever. And also just the stress that they were visibly wearing. I was using that to just reinforce myself and tell myself that I'm doing good, or that I'm better in some way, or, you know, like just maybe there is some sort of like competitiveness that exists at my job. But I don't feel that way anymore. That's sort of the change I'm getting at here, is like in the last couple years, the last few months especially, I've just been paying a lot more attention to some of the nature of my, like some of what drives a lot of my thinking. And before, a lot of what drove my thinking was, maintaining my persona, my image, my social standing, I guess, and how I was being perceived by others. With the goal always of being seen as, very well, and just wanting to be liked. And not even just wanting to be liked, but truly wanting to be exceptional. That was this sort of thing that existed in my mind that really caused a lot of trouble. Now that I've overcome a lot of that stuff and have grown and changed, I see that same circumstance play out, but the emotional response I have is completely different. And I'm now longing and praying for this reality to come to fruition where, all of my coworkers, not just my coworkers, but everyone I know, everyone on the planet. And this goes pretty deep, actually. It's like, not just everyone on the planet. I want every living thing on Earth to thrive and to coexist in harmony. The plants, the insects, the animals. I just want everyone to thrive. And there's this sort of painful experience that has been occurring at these staff alignments where I see people in these flustered states. And before, like, it did used to kind of make me uncomfortable when someone's like not doing well emotionally. I've had something in me that I've noticed where it's like if someone's crying or especially emotional. I mentioned this a few videos back with my friend whose mom had passed away, and I couldn't bring myself to text him because I was just afraid to create more emotion in him. Like, I didn't want to bring up anything that he wasn't already dealing with, which is so silly. I mean, what could I have done to make that better or worse? I don't know. I guess before I was looking at their emotional state as like, ugh, just get it together. This is, this is like it was almost a stress for me to have to watch them like not doing well. Whereas now it is still kind of stressful, but it's much more from a place of like, what can I do to get these people in the same position as me? And what I mean by that is not that I'm not, and it's not about better or worse. It's just the objective truth surrounding our emotional states. It's like your heart rate, your cortisol levels, like these are real things. And, if you're living a really stressed life, that's going to shorten your lifespan. And, not just that, but that stress that they go through is going to completely diminish their ability to see the beauty in the world, or just enjoy life for what it is. And I want to be able to see that reality I described to I want to see that come to fruition. I want to see people thrive. And to reiterate, the whole point of what I'm trying to say is, like, before I used to just consider my own position compared to theirs and think, oh, lucky me, I'm in this great spot, how great, and I'd get pleasure from it. Now it's like, yeah, I'm doing well, but why aren't we all doing well? How can we all come together and prosper as a species, as a civilization, as a planet? And this change occurred, that my perspective was able to change once I released that grip of the persona, how I was being perceived, how I wanted to be seen. None of that matters. It's people aren't thinking about you as much as you think they are. That's for sure. And you know, if you really want that reality to come to fruition, then believe that. Believe it can be possible. Believe that we can reach that harmonious state for the planet. And whether or not you know how to help people and uplift them, just by wishing that reality to come to form, that will come through in your behavior and in your interactions and conversations and stuff. So, something to think about. As you think, so you become. Love you guys.